Welcome back, everyone, to the Fremmer English podcast, a place where we explore English in the most natural and emotionally connected way possible. Through long, real conversations, we help you grow not only as an English learner, but also as a human being. Today, we're talking about a topic that is deeply personal to all of us: family. The way we speak about the people we love often reveals so much about who we are.
Yes, and before we get started, we'd like to gently remind you to subscribe, like, comment, and share. Your support allows us to continue creating these long, heartfelt episodes that guide you through English learning in a meaningful and human way. Now, let's begin our conversation about family, the people who shape our earliest memories, our emotions, and often our sense of identity.
When I think about my family, the first thing that comes to mind is how different we all are, yet how deeply connected we remain. I'm always fascinated by how each person brings their own unique energy into the home, creating a mix of personalities that shape the atmosphere I grew up in.
I feel the same way, because family isn't only about being related by blood. It's about the emotional world we share, the laughter and the disagreements, the support and the silence, the memories and the small moments that quietly shape our relationships over time.
For example, my father has always been a calm and steady presence in my life. He's not someone who speaks a lot, but when he does, his words carry real weight, and whenever I needed guidance, his quiet advice helped me see things more clearly.
That really reminds me of my mother, who has always been the emotional heart of our home, warm, intuitive, and endlessly patient. Even now, a single conversation with her can bring me comfort on days when everything feels overwhelming.
My mother is similar in that way, gentle and thoughtful, and I often think that so much of who I am today comes from the small lessons she taught me, not through big speeches, but through her actions, her kindness, and the way she treated others.
It's beautiful how parents teach us through their behavior, because sometimes the most powerful lessons aren't spoken. They're simply lived, and we absorb them slowly as we grow.
I also have a younger sister, and even though we argued constantly when we were kids, we've grown much closer as adults, and now I realize how much her presence shapes my understanding of responsibility, empathy, and patience.
I have an older brother, and our relationship has always felt like a mix of friendship, rivalry, and protection. We've grown through different paths, but no matter what happens, there's always a sense of familiarity and loyalty between us that never fades.
What I love most about family is how, even after long periods apart, the connection remains, almost like an invisible thread that pulls us back together, reminding us of where we came from and who we shared our earliest experiences with.
Yes, and that connection is something unique, because even when life changes us, even when distance separates us, there's still a sense of home in the presence of family, a feeling of being known without needing to explain yourself.
One of my favorite family memories is having dinner together every evening when I was a child. The conversations were sometimes silly, sometimes serious, but always full of warmth, and looking back, I realize those simple moments were the foundation of our closeness.
That reminds me of our weekend breakfasts, slow mornings when the whole family sat together without rushing, enjoying food, laughter, and the comfort of being around people who understood each other deeply.
Something I appreciate now, more than ever, is how family teaches us about love in its rawest form. Not perfect love, not ideal love, but real love, filled with challenges, misunderstandings, and growth.
Exactly, because family relationships are never simple, but they're meaningful, and the emotional lessons we learn from them help shape how we build relationships outside the home.
There were times when my family didn't agree with me, times when we argued or misunderstandings happened, but those moments taught me communication, patience, and the importance of trying to understand someone else's perspective.
Oh, I've experienced that too. Sometimes the hardest conversations we have are with the people we love, because emotions run deeper. But those conversations also bring the greatest growth and the strongest connections.
I think one of the most challenging parts of growing up is realizing that our parents are human, with their own fears, dreams, and limitations, and learning to see them through that lens makes our relationships more compassionate and real.
Yes, that realization changes everything. Because once we see our parents as human beings instead of superheroes, we can understand their decisions differently and appreciate their efforts with more gratitude.
Another thing I've noticed is how my relationship with my family changes as I grow older. The older I become, the more I try to communicate openly, express gratitude, and spend intentional time with them, because I understand how precious those moments are.
And I feel the same. As adults, we start to treasure the little moments more. A phone call, a shared meal, a quiet moment sitting together. Because life moves fast and family moments become more meaningful.
Before I continue, I want to remind our listeners that if this conversation is helping you think about your own family and describe them in English, please subscribe, like, comment, and share, because your support helps us continue creating these gentle, emotional episodes.
Yes, and we'd love to hear about your family too, your parents, siblings, grandparents, or anyone who has shaped your life. So feel free to share your stories in the comments, because connecting with you makes this podcast truly special.
Thinking about family also reminds me of how traditions play a big role in shaping our identity, even if we don't realize it. Small rituals like holiday celebrations or weekend routines become part of the emotional fabric of who we are.
Yes, traditions carry meaning. They are the threads that connect generations, giving us memories to look back on and stories to carry forward.
One tradition my family still keeps is celebrating birthdays in a very simple but heartfelt way. Not big parties, but small gatherings with homemade food, laughter, and conversations that make the day feel warm.
My family has a similar tradition, and I love how birthdays become less about gifts and more about presence, being together, sharing stories, and appreciating the person we're celebrating.
Family also helps us understand ourselves better. When I observe my family members, their habits, their strengths, their fears, I often find reflections of myself in them, as if pieces of my personality were passed down in quiet, invisible ways.
That's beautifully said, because I also notice little parts of myself in my family. The way I laugh like my mother, the way I think like my father, or the way I react emotionally like my brother. And these similarities remind me that we are connected in more ways than we realize.
Sometimes, when life becomes overwhelming, simply hearing a family member's voice brings comfort, almost like a reminder that I'm not alone, that someone understands me even when I struggle to express myself.
Yes, family voices carry emotional history. Every word holds years of love, memories, and shared experiences, and that familiarity makes even a short conversation feel healing.
I also love how family can bring laughter even in difficult moments. Sometimes a joke, a shared memory, or a simple smile from someone I love melts away stress and reminds me that life is bigger than my problems.
Family laughter is special, isn't it? It's a kind of laughter that carries warmth and belonging, and it has the power to turn even an ordinary moment into something unforgettable.
When I think about my family, I also think about the values they taught me: honesty, kindness, resilience. Values that continue to guide me even when I'm far from home.
Yes, the values our families give us become the foundation we stand on. And even if we grow in different directions, those early lessons stay with us like a quiet compass.
Of course, no family is perfect, and there were times when misunderstandings created distance, but those challenges helped me learn forgiveness, communication, and the importance of trying again with an open heart.
I understand that deeply. Family relationships can be complex. But when we learn to navigate those complexities with compassion, we grow not only as individuals, but also as a family.
One thing I appreciate most now is how family can be both our history and our home, holding our past while embracing who we are becoming in the present.
Yes, family is a place where our childhood lives, our identity grows, and our future feels supported, no matter how far we travel or how much we change.
I also think about extended family, grandparents, uncles, aunts, cousins, and how each relationship adds another layer to our emotional world, creating a larger circle of love and memories.
Extended family brings a different kind of richness. Older generations carry wisdom. Younger ones bring joy, and together they create a beautiful mix of stories and connections.
Before we continue, let me remind our listeners once more to subscribe, like, comment, and share, because your support helps us tell these long, meaningful stories that connect language learning with emotion.
Yes, and thank you for staying with us every time you engage with our podcast. You help us continue creating content that feels real, warm, and deeply human.
Talking about my family makes me realize how much they shaped my personality, the way I express myself, the way I make decisions, and even the way I dream.
I feel the same. Our families influence our character in ways we often don't notice until we grow older and look back with wiser eyes.
Sometimes I miss the simplicity of childhood, coming home to familiar faces, hearing the comforting sounds of family life, and feeling safe without needing to explain anything.
Yes, childhood memories carry a kind of softness that we rarely experience again, and family is the heart of those memories.
As I talk about all of this, I feel a deeper appreciation for my family, even with all their flaws and imperfections, because they are part of my story and part of my emotional foundation.
And I feel the same. This conversation reminds me how precious family truly is, and how important it is to cherish the people who helped shape our hearts.
You know, the more we talk about family, the more I realize that our relationships with them evolve constantly. What we felt as children is so different from what we understand as adults, and that shift is one of the most meaningful parts of growing up.
Yes, and as adults, we start to see our family not only through the eyes of children, but through the eyes of mature individuals who understand responsibility, sacrifice, fear, and love in a deeper, more human way.
I've noticed that as I get older, I appreciate the small things my parents did, waking up early to help me prepare for school, listening to my worries, celebrating my little achievements, and now I see how much love was hidden in those simple acts.
I feel that too, because when we are young, we take so many things for granted, but when we grow older, we begin to understand the emotional and physical effort behind every gesture our families made to support us. The interesting thing about family is that they witness us in every stage of life, our best moments, our worst moments, our transitions, our failures, and somehow, despite everything, they remain part of our story.
Exactly. And that shared history creates a bond that's impossible to replicate with anyone else, because family knows the earliest chapters of our life, the ones that shaped us long before we understood ourselves.
One thing I'm learning is that communication becomes even more important as family members grow older. Expressing love, gratitude, and understanding becomes essential, because time passes quickly and opportunities to speak from the heart should never be wasted.
That's so true. As years go by, I find myself wanting to tell my family more often that I appreciate them, that I love them, that I see their efforts, because those words carry warmth that can change someone's day. And even though we don't always agree, I try to approach disagreements with more patience and emotional maturity, because I've learned that arguments don't erase love, they simply remind us that we care enough to fight for understanding.
Yes, disagreements can actually strengthen relationships when handled gently, because they push us to listen better, speak more honestly, and understand each other beyond assumptions.
Thinking about all of this makes me realize how lucky I am to have a family that supports me, even quietly, even imperfectly, because not everyone has that, and I don't want to take it for granted.
I feel the same. I've learned to appreciate my family with all their flaws and complexities, because real love isn't perfect. It's patient, messy, and beautifully human.
Before we go deeper, I want to gently remind our listeners that if this conversation is helping you reflect on your own family and learn how to describe them in English, please subscribe, like, comment, and share, because your support helps us create more meaningful episodes.
Yes, and we would truly love to hear about your family in the comments. A memory, a description, or a simple introduction, because sharing stories makes this community feel warm and connected.
Something I've been thinking about is how family shapes our understanding of love, not only romantic love, but love in general, how we give it, how we receive it, and how we express it, sometimes with words, sometimes through silence.
That's such a deep point, because the emotional language we learn at home often becomes the emotional language we use as adults, and recognizing that can help us grow and heal in powerful ways.
I've also learned that family isn't limited to the people we're born into. Sometimes we build our own family through friendships, mentors, or people who show us unconditional support when we need it most.
Absolutely, chosen family is just as real and meaningful because family is defined by connection, trust, and shared humanity, not only by genetics.
One of the things I appreciate most about my family is how they celebrate even the smallest achievements, a new job, a personal goal, or even a small step forward. Their encouragement always feels sincere.
Yes, family celebrations, big or small, carry a special feeling because they come from people who have seen our struggles and understand the weight behind our accomplishments.
And then there's humor. Every family has its own style of jokes, playful teasing, and shared memories that make everyone laugh. And those moments are some of the warmest memories I hold.
Family laughter is so healing. It's the kind of laughter that comes from a place of safety, comfort, and shared experience, and it creates moments that stay with us forever.
But even in the happy moments, there's always a bittersweet understanding that time changes everything. Parents age, siblings grow up, people move away, and that awareness makes every moment feel more precious.
Yes, the passing of time is one of the most emotional aspects of family life, and it teaches us to cherish every conversation, every shared meal, every hug, because these moments don't last forever.
I also think about how much responsibility we feel toward our family, wanting to make them proud, wanting to support them, wanting to give back some of the love they have given us throughout our lives.
I feel that too. There's a gentle desire inside me to take care of the people who took care of me, and that emotional exchange becomes even more meaningful as everyone grows older.
Family also teaches us forgiveness, because we all make mistakes. We all hurt each other unintentionally, and learning to forgive helps relationships heal and grow stronger.
Forgiveness is essential in family because long-term relationships require understanding, patience, and the willingness to see someone's heart instead of just their mistakes.
Sometimes I wonder how different my life would be without the influence of my family, the values they taught me, the emotional strength they gave me, and the countless memories that shaped my identity.
I wonder that too, because so much of who I am today comes from the love, support, challenges, and lessons that came from my family, both the good parts and the difficult ones.
Before we continue, let me remind our listeners once again to subscribe, like, comment, and share, because your engagement helps us continue creating these long, deep, emotionally rich episodes for English learners around the world.
Yes, and we're so grateful you're here, listening with an open heart and learning English through conversations that reflect real human emotions and real human experiences.
Something that touches me is how family can make even ordinary moments feel special. Sitting in the living room, watching TV together, cooking dinner, or simply talking about our day. These simple routines become some of the most meaningful memories.
Yes, the magic of family is often found in these quiet, everyday moments, the ones that seem small at the time but become treasures in our memory.
Another thing I love is how family often believes in us even when we don't believe in ourselves, offering encouragement and confidence when we feel uncertain or discouraged.
That's so true. Sometimes a single supportive message from a family member can change our entire mood, reminding us that we are valued, capable, and not alone.
I also appreciate how family traditions create a sense of identity. They help us understand where we come from, what our culture represents, and how our history shapes the way we live today.
Traditions connect us to our roots, to our ancestors, and to the stories passed down through generations, reminding us that we are part of something bigger than ourselves.
At the same time, creating new traditions as adults is just as important. It allows us to bring our own personality and creativity into family life, shaping the future with fresh ideas and new rituals.
Yes, new traditions help families evolve, adapt, and grow, blending the warmth of the past with the hope of the future.
Talking about all of this makes me appreciate the strength that comes from family, a kind of emotional support that stays with us even when we are far away physically.
Yes, distance doesn't break family bonds. Sometimes it even strengthens them, because we learn to communicate more intentionally and appreciate each moment of connection more deeply.
One of the most emotional realizations I've had is that love within a family doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it's a quiet check-in message, a meal cooked for you, or someone remembering a small detail about your life.
Yes, love in families often appears in the smallest gestures. And recognizing those gestures helps us feel grateful and connected, even during difficult times.
As we approach the halfway point of our conversation, I hope our listeners are thinking about their own families, the people who shaped them, supported them, or even challenged them, because describing your family in English is not only linguistic practice, but emotional reflection.
Yes, and describing your family helps you practice vocabulary like siblings, parents, grandparents, relationships, support, childhood, values, and memories, all essential parts of everyday English.
Before we move into the next part, I want to gently remind everyone listening to subscribe, like, comment, and share, because your support helps us bring these emotional English learning conversations to people all around the world.
Yes, thank you for being part of this beautiful journey with us. Your presence, your engagement, and your stories make this podcast feel like a real family of learners.
Talking about my family today has reminded me how deeply connected we are, even when life becomes busy or complicated, and how important it is to nurture those relationships with patience and love.
And this conversation has reminded me that family is one of the greatest emotional anchors we have in life. A source of strength, memory, and unconditional connection that deserves to be appreciated with all our heart.
As we continue reflecting on family, I'm reminded of how deeply our early family experiences influence the way we move through the world, the way we communicate, the way we trust, the way we form relationships, and even the way we understand love and belonging.
Yes, and I've realized over the years that the emotional patterns we develop in childhood often follow us into adulthood. And understanding this helps us grow with more awareness, compassion, and emotional clarity.
One thing I find fascinating is how every family has its own emotional language. Some families speak through words, some through actions, some through silence, and learning to understand that language helps us understand ourselves.
That's such a beautiful point, because emotional language is learned quietly, without lessons or explanations. It flows through the way our family hugs us, listens to us, encourages us, or even disagrees with us.
I've also noticed that as I grow older, I start to understand things my parents used to say. Things that made no sense to me when I was young, but now, with more experience and perspective, I realize how wise their words truly were.
I feel exactly the same when I was younger. I would sometimes ignore their advice, thinking I knew better. But now I hear their voices in my own decisions, guiding me in ways I never expected.
Sometimes, when I look at my family, I see generations of stories woven into our faces, our expressions, and our habits. Stories of struggle, of sacrifice, of hope. And I feel a deep sense of responsibility to honor those stories.
Yes, understanding that we come from a long line of lives, experiences, and dreams makes our own journey feel richer and more connected to something bigger than ourselves.
Something else I've learned is that distance, whether physical or emotional, doesn't always weaken family bonds. Sometimes it gives us space to grow as individuals and return with a new appreciation for the people we love.
That's very true. Distance can create clarity, helping us understand what we miss, what we value, and what we may have taken for granted when we were closer.
One of the most emotional experiences I had was seeing my parents after a long time apart. The way their eyes softened, the way they held me a little longer, It reminded me how strong those invisible family connections truly are.
I've experienced that too, and it's incredibly moving. It's like time disappears, and the bond that remained quiet suddenly becomes visible again, full of love, memory, and unspoken understanding.
Before we continue, I want to gently remind our listeners that if this conversation is helping you practice English while connecting emotionally to your own experiences, please subscribe, like, comment, and share. Your support allows us to keep creating episodes like this.
Yes, and we love reading your comments about your families, your cultures, your challenges, and your stories. They make this podcast feel like a warm global community instead of just a recording.
One of the hardest lessons I learned about family is that sometimes people change, circumstances change, and relationships must adapt in ways we didn't expect. But even those changes can teach us resilience, acceptance, and emotional maturity.
I understand that deeply because family relationships evolve with time, sometimes growing closer, sometimes growing apart, and navigating these changes requires patience and compassion.
There are moments when I wish I had spent more time with my family when I was younger, moments I didn't appreciate enough, conversations I didn't take seriously, or little memories I didn't realize were important.
I feel the same. As we grow older, we realize how precious those ordinary moments were. And sometimes we wish we could go back and experience them with the understanding we have now.
But I've also learned not to regret too deeply, because every stage of family life has its purpose, and instead of focusing on what we missed, we can choose to create new, meaningful moments now.
Yes, the beauty of family is that it gives us endless opportunities to reconnect, rebuild, and renew our relationships, even if the past was complicated or imperfect.
Something that brings me comfort is knowing that even when we are far apart, some families maintain a quiet emotional connection, a kind of unspoken support that exists even without daily communication.
Yes, that quiet presence is one of the most beautiful forms of love, the kind that doesn't need constant words, but still makes you feel safe and remembered.
I also love how families create inside jokes and shared memories that nobody else understands. These little pieces of history make the bond feel special and irreplaceable.
Yes, those shared memories become little treasures that warm our hearts unexpectedly. Sometimes years later, when a random moment brings them back.
Talking about my family also reminds me of the dreams they had for me. Some I followed, some I didn't. But now I understand that their hopes came from a place of love, even when we didn't agree.
I feel the same. Sometimes parents express their dreams in ways that feel controlling. But behind those dreams is usually a desire to protect us and help us live a life better than the one they had.
Another important lesson I learned from family is the value of emotional support during hard times. Knowing that someone is there for you, even silently, can give you the strength to push through challenges you thought you couldn't face.
Yes, family support can be incredibly healing. Even simple words like, "I'm here for you" or "you are not alone" can carry more power than we realize.
As I reflect on everything, I realize that family isn't defined by perfection. It's defined by presence, effort, and the willingness to show up for each other again and again, even when life gets complicated.
And that's what makes family relationships so meaningful. They endure storms, misunderstandings, and challenges, yet they continue to grow because the foundation beneath them is love.
Before we continue, let me gently remind our listeners once again to subscribe, like, comment, and share, especially if these deep conversations resonate with your heart and help you express yourself in English.
Yes, your support truly helps us continue creating these long, emotional episodes that make English learning feel more human, more connected, and more meaningful.
Something I've always admired about families is how they celebrate milestones together. Graduations, birthdays, weddings, moments that mark transitions and remind us that life is full of chapters worth remembering.
Yes, and even the small achievements like learning a new skill, finishing a project, or overcoming a fear are often celebrated by family with genuine pride and happiness.
I also think about how families shape our cultural identity. Traditions, languages, customs, foods, all passed down through generations, connecting us to our heritage in beautiful and meaningful ways.
Cultural identity is such an important part of family life because it teaches us where we come from, helps us understand our roots, and gives us a sense of belonging in a world that is constantly changing.
And even though families sometimes disagree across generations, different beliefs, different lifestyles, different worlds, those differences can teach us empathy and open-mindedness.
Yes, generational differences can be challenging, but they also create opportunities for deeper conversations, understanding, and growth for everyone involved.
I also admire how family members often inspire us without trying, through their discipline, their kindness, their resilience, their dreams, and these inspirations guide us, sometimes quietly, throughout our lives.
Yes, inspiration flows naturally in families, sometimes from parents to children, sometimes the other way around, and it creates a beautiful cycle of learning and emotional evolution.
Something that touches me deeply is how families show love in different ways, through cooking, through advice, through hugs, through silence, through constant checking in. Love has so many expressions in a family.
Absolutely. Love in families is not always spoken, but it is always felt. And recognizing those unique expressions helps us appreciate our relationships even more.
I also think about the lessons family teaches us about responsibility, helping each other, supporting each other, and sometimes sacrificing for each other. And those lessons shape our character in profound ways.
Yes, responsibility within a family helps us grow into more caring and compassionate adults, because we learn that caring for others is not a burden, but a form of love.
As we talk, I'm reminded of how important it is to express gratitude to our families while we still can, because time moves so quickly, and unspoken appreciation can weigh on the heart.
Yes, telling our family members thank you, I appreciate you, or I love you can strengthen relationships in ways we can't imagine, and those words stay in their hearts forever.
Something I want to carry forward in my own life is the intention to build a future family with love, understanding, emotional warmth, and a sense of connection that allows everyone to grow freely.
That's a beautiful intention, and I feel the same. I want to create an environment where future generations feel safe, loved, and encouraged to explore who they truly are.
Reflecting on all of this today makes me feel deeply grateful for the family I have, imperfect, emotional, complicated, and beautiful in their own way, because they are part of my foundation.
And this conversation makes me grateful as well, because family, with all its challenges and strengths, teaches us some of the most important emotional lessons we will carry throughout our entire life.
As we move into the final part of this conversation, I'm realizing just how deeply family shapes the core of who we are, not just through the lessons they teach us, but through the emotions, memories, and invisible ties that follow us wherever we go.
Yes, and the more we talk about it, the clearer it becomes that family isn't simply people we grow up with. They are the emotional roots that keep us grounded, the starting point of our identity, and the quiet support behind so many choices we make in life.
Sometimes I think about how my family influenced my dreams, the way they encouraged me, questioned me, challenged me, and believed in me, and I realize that even their doubts helped me grow stronger and more determined.
I feel the same because family inspires us in ways we don't always notice at the time. It's only when we look back that we see how their words and actions shaped our direction, our courage, and our belief in ourselves.
One of the most beautiful things about family is how they hold our history, stories from before we were born, stories from when we were young, and stories that connect us to our ancestors, reminding us that we belong to something much larger than just our own life.
Yes, family stories have a special way of making us feel connected across time, and hearing them brings a sense of continuity. Like we are part of a long journey that began long before us and will continue long after us.
I've also learned that family relationships require effort, communication, patience, forgiveness, because the closer the bond, the easier it is to hurt each other, and the more important it becomes to heal and grow together.
Absolutely. The depth of family relationships makes them both vulnerable and strong. And it's the process of addressing misunderstandings with empathy that strengthens the connection over time.
Before we continue with our final reflections, let me gently remind our listeners once again that if this conversation is helping you learn English in a natural, emotional way, please subscribe, like, comment, and share, because your support truly helps this podcast reach more learners around the world.
Yes, and we deeply appreciate every single person who listens, shares, and leaves a comment. Your connection turns this podcast into a warm, meaningful community.
Another thing family teaches us is resilience. Seeing how our parents or grandparents overcame challenges helps us face our own difficulties with a little more strength and hope.
Yes, the stories of their struggles and sacrifices give us perspective, reminding us that we come from people who endured, adapted, and kept moving forward, even in hard times.
Sometimes, when I face a difficult situation, I hear my parents' voices in my mind, their advice, their warnings, their encouragement, and those words feel like emotional tools they gave me to survive and grow.
I experience that too. Their words echo in my thoughts, guiding me gently, as if a part of them lives inside my decisions, helping me navigate life with more clarity and confidence.
Family also shapes how we express affection, whether we hug often, whether we say I love you, whether we show care through actions or words. And understanding this helps us communicate more authentically in our adult relationships.
Yes, once we understand how our family expressed or did not express affection, we become more aware of our emotional habits and can choose to continue them, soften them, or change them for the better.
One of the most touching things about family is how they worry about us, even when they don't say it directly. A short message, a question about whether we ate, or a reminder to rest can carry so much love hidden inside.
Yes, those small gestures show a kind of love that is gentle but incredibly powerful. And realizing that makes me appreciate those messages even more, because they come from a place of deep care.
Family also teaches us humility. They've known us since we were children, before we had achievements, confidence, or life experience, and being around them reminds us of our most honest and vulnerable selves.
Exactly. They see beyond our successes or failures. They see the real core of us, the child we were, the adult we are becoming, and that perspective keeps us grounded, humble, and connected.
As I reflect on everything we've discussed, I feel a renewed sense of responsibility to show my family more appreciation, to express my gratitude openly, and to be present for them in ways I sometimes forget in the business of life.
I feel that too. This conversation reminds me that it's important to make time for the people who shaped us, to listen to them, to hug them, to support them, and to let them know how much they matter.
Another beautiful part of family is knowing that even when we make mistakes, even when we feel lost, there is a place where we can return, a place that forgives us, accepts us, and reminds us that we are worthy of love.
Yes, that emotional safety is something incredibly rare. And it's one of the greatest gifts a family can give. Not perfection, not constant agreement, but unconditional belonging.
One of the moments that always touches me deeply is seeing my parents grow older, watching them slow down, watching their hands wrinkle, and realizing how precious every moment with them truly is.
I feel the same. Seeing our parents age brings both sadness and gratitude, because it reminds us to cherish every conversation, every smile, every shared meal, knowing that time moves quietly and quickly.
Before we reach the end of today's episode, I want to give one final reminder to our wonderful listeners. Please subscribe, like, comment, and share if this conversation moved you or helped your English grow, because your support is the heart of this podcast.
Yes, thank you for being part of this emotional journey with us. Your presence, your trust, and your connection make every episode meaningful and alive.
As we prepare to close, I hope today's conversation encourages our listeners to reflect on their own families with more love, understanding, and patience, because every family has its challenges, but every family also has its quiet beauty.
And I hope our listeners feel inspired to reach out to someone in their family with a message, a call, a hug, or a simple "I appreciate you," because those words can mean more than we imagine.
Talking about family today reminded me that love doesn't always need to be loud or dramatic. Sometimes it lives in everyday moments, in shared memories, and in the comfort of knowing someone cares for you deeply.
Yes, love in families is often quiet but strong, gentle but steady, and recognizing that helps us appreciate the beauty that exists in the simple, familiar moments of life.
I hope this episode gave our listeners the language, the vocabulary, and the emotional expression to describe their families with more depth and confidence in English.
Yes, and I hope it also helped them feel more connected to their own stories, their own roots, and their own emotional journey. Because language learning is not just about grammar, it's about expressing who we are.
Thank you for spending this time with us, for listening so thoughtfully, and for allowing this conversation to become part of your English learning experience.
Yes, thank you for letting us share this emotional space with you. It's an honor to speak with you, to reflect with you, and to grow with you.
As always, we hope you continue learning English gently, naturally, and with compassion for yourself, knowing that every small effort brings you closer to fluency.
And we hope you carry today's reflections into your life, remembering that family, however you define it, is a source of strength, connection, and unconditional love.
May your conversations with your family be warm, your memories be cherished, and your relationships continue to grow with kindness and understanding.
And may you always feel supported, seen, and loved by the people who truly matter, the ones who have walked with you through every stage of your life.
We truly look forward to being with you again in our next episode, where we'll continue exploring English through deep, meaningful, and human-centered conversations that reflect real life, real emotions, and real experiences.
Yes, and until that time comes, please take gentle care of your heart, your relationships, and the people you love. Remember that growth is a journey, and you are never walking this path alone.
Thank you for being here with us today. Thank you for listening with an open mind. And thank you for allowing your English learning journey to be filled with emotion, reflection, curiosity, and personal growth.
And thank you for trusting us to guide you along the way. Your trust, your time, and your willingness to learn with us truly mean more than you may realize.
We wish you peace in your thoughts, clarity in your choices, and meaningful connection as you move through your day. We hope you carry today's conversation with you like a gentle reminder of the love, support, and understanding that exist in your life.
And may that love continue to inspire you, uplift you, and guide you forward, helping you grow not only as an English learner, but also as a person becoming more confident in expressing their true self.
This is your host, wishing you strength, warmth, and quiet reflection as you think about the people who shaped your story and continue to influence who you are today.
And I'm wishing you comfort, gratitude, and tender moments with the people you love most, the moments that remind you of what truly matters in life.
Thank you once again for joining us today. Your presence, your attention, and your openness are what make these conversations feel real, alive, and deeply meaningful.
And as always, this is the Freema English Podcast, sending you love, balance, and connection wherever you are. Take care, and we'll see you in the next episode.